I'd like to talk about Purim. What I'm hoping is a little bit of a unique approach, but I think this year it takes on a very, very, very different quality, and I want to spend a little time on that. You know, I'm sure everybody's fully and completely aware of all the craziness that's going on with, Chuck Schumer, and excoriates another Jew. Forget about the politics, Shebedover, forget about all that stuff, but that you literally, I mean, almost personally excoriate another Jew was for me watching that. I wasn't watching Israeli politics. I was watching Jews going after Jews, and it was devastating to me. And then, what you might not all know is that Ehud Olmert, I believe it was yesterday or today, sent a message to Schumer, thumbs up, letting him know that he thought that it was a great thing what he did, and that Netanyahu needs to be put in his place because he's not speaking for the people. And again, this all could have taken place in private. It didn't have to take place in public. It doesn't have to take place in a way that Jews are destroying Jews. And it was just shocking to me. Day by day, you keep hearing of things that are going on in the world, and you keep watching the support for the Jews, the support for the Jewish people, cracking and crumbling day by day. This guy Schumer called himself the Shomer Yisrael, right? Shomer from the word protector of the Jewish people. When the truth is that he is another show, we say a meshumad, a person who has like cast off his Jewishness. Somebody stands up in front of the world at the Academy Awards and tells the world that he denies his Judaism. It's just incredible. And again, what we're watching is we're just watching the crumbling of the support of the Jews, watching the crumbling of the pride of the Jewish people, just being dismantled in front of the world. I'll tell you, there's something else that took place this past week that it's possible that might not have made it to the news in America. There was an 88-year-old Rosh Yeshiva, very well-known Torah personality here in Eretz Yisrael, who, when I was learning in yeshiva 45 years ago, was already one of the established Rosh Yeshiva in the Jewish people. And he was 88 years old. And this, from the fact that nobody is shaking their heads, I see that they were not aware of this. He had his first child at 88. He was married, and his wife died. And he remarried again. And he had.
I did hear about it, Rabbi.
You did? He had a child. And the simcha was something not to be imagined. It was all about. I mean, the incredible thing that he said is that he got married a second time, like I said, and with the second wife, he merited to have a child, and he said that he never lost faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, never lost faith in God, and believed that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to give him, if this was what he deserved, he was going to have a child, and if not, he wasn't going to have a child. And he said he said he went to hundreds and hundreds of brisson of his students. He would sit there and hold the baby and be the sandik, and never once did it cross his mind that I don't have this simcha in my life, that I was never blessed with a child myself. And he was there for everyone, for their simchas. He was there to carry their joy with them. And not once did he feel his own pain, and did he feel his own lack. Just keep all this. This is what's going on now, Erev Purim, as we're preparing for Purim. Now I want you to come with me back 2,000 years. And I want to transport ourselves back to Shushan. And I want to go sit at a Shabbos table at Shushan. And what are they talking about? They're sitting around the table and they're talking about how terrible things are. How in a few weeks we're all going to die. There is a writ, there is a decree, the harog lahashmiru la'abed, to destroy and to obliterate and to wipe out every last Jew. There is nobody that's protecting us. The king is against us. The king's right-hand man is the one who is the mastermind of this plan. Even the lady that we thought was going to protect us, she's making parties with Haman and with Achashverosh. She's given up on her people also. She's excoriated us, so to speak, in front of the public, in front of the world. We walk in the street and we see a gallows that is hanging and that is sitting there and waiting. It's waiting to hang Mordechai on. We're living in a time where we're an am mifozaru miforad bein amim. We are separated from each other. We can't stand each other. We're not connected to each other. We don't feel each other's pain. We have no sense of hope. All we know is that we got this Haredi Jewish leader who is pissing off Haman every single day by not bowing down to him. There's no one to help us. There is nobody to protect us. We're standing alone. And what do we say to those people sitting at that table? We who come from 2,000 years in the future. Spoiler alert. It's all going to work out okay. Because Ein Od Milvado. Because there's nobody in the world besides God. It's all coming from God. Oh, you can't see it, Mr. and Mrs. Shushan. You don't feel it because everything looks like it's devastating. Everything looks so black and so bleak. But just open your eyes. You remember that lady Esther? She was making a mishteh yayin. Mishteh yayin is written in the Megillah. It means a party of wine. Why would we have said mishteh yayin? Why not just mishteh, that she made a party? Because wine is one of the symbols of the Jewish people. Because the more you crack it and you crash it and you crush it, so then the beautiful juice, the beautiful wine comes out of it. It's sitting there and waiting, but it's only going to come out when it's pressurized, when it's pushed, when it's pulverized, when it's stamped on. We tell them, don't give up hope. God's got your back. Oh, I know it all looks like it's all just happening. It's all just nature. It's all just things going on. And you're on the downside of all this. You're on the black side of all this. But it's not true. There's a tremendous amount of light, we tell them. There's a tremendous amount of godliness. There's a tremendous amount of God's revelation that's going on here. You just got to be patient. You just got to hold on. Because at the end of the day, Ein Od Milvado, those three words, we have to keep saying them over to ourselves, to saying them over to them. Ein Od Milvado, there is none other than God. We turn to them and we say, maybe it's time to start reaching out to each other. Maybe it's time to start getting a little strength from each other. Maybe it's time for you to stop thinking about yourselves and to be mevatel yourself, to nullify yourself, to turn yourself into God, to put a little faith and a little trust in the one above. Not through your words, but through your action and through your lives. Maybe it's time to stop looking at that Haredi and sticking a finger at him and saying that Mordechai, that crazy Jew. All he's doing is angering the people around him. All he's doing is angering the government. And look at it and say, he's got the divine characteristic of Netzach. He's everlasting because he's refusing to give up and to give in, because he's holding on to what he believes in, and he's holding on to what his principles are, and he's holding on to his values, and he's not selling them for anybody else's values. He's not trading them in for another type of existence. He's not giving up to anybody else in the world. He's holding steadfast, knowing that he's going to be obliterated. But that doesn't matter because he's not going to trade God in for anything. And we give them this incredible encouragement. And we give them this incredible strength. And we tell them, God's got your back. Don't worry. Now let's go back 2,000 years. Go forward. Let's come back to our world. And let's sit at our own Shabbos tables. And what are we talking about? We're talking about that we're living through difficult times. We're talking about how the world has traded us in, how the world has abandoned us, how day by day we recognize that we are being abandoned. The people that were supporting us are no longer supporting us. And day by day we find out more and more of them aren't supporting us. We see Jews are so disconnected from each other. We see Jews having protests in Tel Aviv, protests around the world. Jews supporting Palestine. Do we have to worry about the Palestinians? We have to worry about the world, not worry about our people, not worry about our captives. We've lost it. We look at our Shabbos tables and look what we talk about. That we're feeling so bereft and we're feeling so lost. We're feeling that it's so dark outside. So what do we say to ourselves? We just gave great speeches 2,000 years ago to give encouragement and to give strength to the people in Shushan because we know how it's going to end in Shushan and we know that they should stop worrying because it's all going to be okay. We have to say that same speech to ourselves. Stop worrying. Ein Od Milvado. There is nothing in this world besides God. You know the thing we're going to be reading on Saturday night? The Megillah. What's a Megillah? It's a scroll. You know what the word Megillah means? It comes from the root of the word megala, to reveal. Because what are we doing when we're reading the book of Esther? We're being megala. We are uncovering and revealing the hand of God. We're reminding ourselves that even when things look black, that even when things look like they're just coincidence, it's God that's orchestrating and making all of this happen. When Haman came back and he told his family of everything that was happening, he told about Kol Asher Karahu, everything that was happening. When Amalek came to attack the Jewish people when they left Egypt, the Torah says, Asher Korcha Baderach, they happened to meet you. It was coincidental that they met you in the desert. There is no coincidence. We don't believe in coincidence. But that's the way Amalek sees the world. It's all coincidence. There isn't God. It's all coincidence. It just happens. And we sometimes get infected with that. The Megillah is Megala. It uncovers that it's not coincidence. There's a God there. That's why God's name doesn't appear in the Megillah. Because our job is to be able to take the blackness, punch through the blackness and see the light. Our job is to be able to see where, that's what we're here for, is to be able to uncover, to be Megala, to uncover the godliness in our natural world, in our physical world, in the world that looks like a world of coincidence. You know what the numerical value of the word Megala is? 78. What's God's name? Adonai. Spelled with the letters Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. numerical value 26. 3 times 26. When we see things in threes, that's the total picture. That's why we repeat often much of our davening, much of our things we repeat in threes. Because what we're doing is recognizing the Yud K Vav K. We're uncovering the godliness in this world. And that's 78. Because that's exactly what Purim is about. What Purim is about, like we said to them in Shushan, spoiler alert, it's all going to be okay. Purim is to remind us that it's all going to be okay. Strengthen your faith, strengthen your bitachon, strengthen your trust, because behind all of this exists God. That's Esther. The word Esther, why was she called Esther? It's a beautiful Jewish name. Everybody's got an Aunt Esther. Aunt Esther. Everybody knows some Esther. Esther, lahastir. It means to hide. Because God is operating now in our gullus, in our exile. He's operating behind a veil. But afilu behastara, even with the darkness, even when there's an Esther in the world, even when it's covered and concealed, what's the reality? What's the thing behind it? The thing behind it is Ein Od Milvado. That it's all happening from God. You can't divorce God from the picture. Going into Rapha, is it like the scariest thing that's been happening to us? It's taken all of this frightening stuff from the past 5 months, and it's like concentrating it into a small little place. It's frightening. And we have to be serious about it. But we have to be able to recognize Ein Od Milvado. In everything that happens in our lives, in the darkness, in the scariness, in our own personal trials and tribulations, in our own personal worries, in our own health issues, in our own financial issues, in our own emotional issues. We have to deal with them, but we have to deal with them in a way that we recognize that ultimately, at the end of all of this, Ein Od Milvado, which requires us to daven, which requires us to strengthen our spirituality, because at the end of the day, that point behind all of this, the point that is choreographing all of this, is Ein Od Milvado, is God Himself. And that when we can see the light in the darkness, then we have to take that and do something with it. You know, human emotions really have 2 parts. We have the feelings in our heart, and we have the feelings that need to turn into actions. When you have a strong emotion and a feeling about something, so then it bursts forth from us. You know, the concept of singing. Oz Yosher Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu sang after the splitting of the sea. It wasn't that Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm going to compose a song. This is, after all, like a Broadway musical, which always mystified me. Like something happens and all of a sudden, singing in the rain, and you break into song. What's going on here? That people don't live that way. Yeah, the reason that people don't live that way is because we don't live with our emotions that way. We don't let our emotions get the best of us. But look at yourself every once in a while. What do you find yourself doing? Singing. Every once in a while, especially when nobody's watching, you're humming a tune. You know why you're humming a tune? Because inside, that feeling is bursting forth. And whether you can recognize it or not recognize it, that light that has been touched inside, that starts to break through. Dancing, singing, crying, rejoicing clapping, all of that is an expression of an emotion. And that's what we have to recognize. We have to find that emotional place that exists behind all of this. The place where this stuff is not happening, but the place on the level that this stuff is being orchestrated, that this stuff is being machinated and is being controlled. We have to be able to see the godliness in all of this. We're able to point it out to the people of Shushan. Remember those gallows that you saw and you walked there by every day and you said, oh my God, Mordechai is going to be hung on them? Look again. It's Haman being hung on them. Do you remember when you thought that it was all over? Look again. You're going to win the war. You remember when you said that we Jews can't stand each other? Look again. We're loving each other and we're giving out shalach manas to each other and we're giving money to the poor and we're taking care of each other. This is what they did in Shushan. But just hang on because you don't see it yet. Just wait, we told them. Just wait. In the end, it's all going to be amazing. This is what we have to say to ourselves. We have to say to ourselves, Ein Od Milvado. And we have to see this on Purim in every single thing that happens. Ladies and gentlemen, when you're reading the Megillah, what's the thought that most people have when they're listening to the Megillah on Purim? Oh boy, this is taking a long time. When is this going to be over? I've got so much to do today. When we're reading the Megillah, almost the last thing that's on our mind. Oh, well, I'll tell you also, for our crowd, the other thing that's on our mind, is it me or is it just, are kids these days making more and more noise? Right? That's what's worrying us when we're listening to the Megillah. We're not watching the story and saying to ourselves, holy cow, look what God did. Look at the way this thing twisted and turned. You remember Esther? She had a party for Haman and Achashverosh, and it looked like she was giving up the Jewish people. You know why she made that party? And would publicize it and let everybody know that she was now hobnobbing with the nasties and with the people that hated the Jews, because she wanted her people to stop relying on her and to turn to God and to say to God, God, we need your help. She knew exactly what she was doing. But when we're watching the Megillah, we're missing all of this. We're missing how Vashti went down so that Esther could come up, how Haman went up so that he could come down and then Mordechai could rise up. And every single thing that looked like it was a terrible turn turns into an incredible turn. If you're listening to the Megillah correctly, when the Megillah is over, you feel a sense of Ein Od Milvado. Wow. God is running the world, and he's got our back. Matanas Levyanim. Do you ever wonder why we give gifts to the poor and gifts to each other on Purim? So I've explained it many times that it's because that's what happened to us. We became repaired. We came together again. But it goes deeper than that. When I start to see my world as being run by God, and I live my life like I really believe that God is running this world, and I don't just say it with my words, but I live it with my life, so then I start to see not the way things appear down here in the sphere that we live in, but I start to see beyond that. And when I look at you, I'm not looking at a body. What I'm looking at is a soul. And when I'm relating to you, I'm relating to you as a soul. And by the way, we've all had that experience. We've had that moment where you're talking to a person, and it could be a spouse, and it could be a child, and it could be a friend, but you're talking to a person and you're not talking to their body. You feel so incredibly connected to them, and the connection is coming from the deepest of places. Very often it's when we haven't seen someone for a long time, and when we see that person, It's our soul that's connecting to their soul. Our bodies then get in the way, but at the end of the day, we're seeing into the soul. When a poor body comes to collect, I smell the body. I see all the things that are out of whack and out of place with that body. But when a poor soul comes to me, then all I see is his soul, and all I want to do is to be able to connect to his soul. There's a halacha on Purim called a pashtin yad. Anybody who puts his hand out, you have to give them. It's not that way the rest of the year. The rest of the year, you put your hand out, you ask me for money. I've got to check your Dun and Bradstreet to make sure that you're really worthy of getting my money, because I can't waste my tzedakah money on Purim. It's not about the body. It's not about the physical world. It's not about how much money I have to give out. It's about your soul. And I'm giving money not to take care of your body, but I'm giving money to take care of your soul. And that's why we give food to each other. We give food to each other most often when people have in mind with Shalach Manas. What do they have in mind? Who gave me last year? I have to make sure I give them. And in our community, it's not so much this way, but in a lot of communities, people are thinking up cute kinds of things to be able to give for Shachmans, which are beautiful things, nothing wrong with it. But it's about being cute, and it's about giving gifts, but it's not about attaching to your soul. That by giving something to you, I'm not seeing your body. I'm attaching to you on a much deeper level. We have a halacha on Purim. Chai vinish the besume bepuria, ad lo yada bein baruch Mordechai la'or Haman. Person has to drink on Purim until he doesn't know the difference between cursed is Haman and blessed is Mordechai. If you get yourself to a point that you don't know the difference between those two, I would say call 911. That's a very dangerous place to be if you can't tell the difference between them. That cannot be what the halacha is meaning. It doesn't mean to get stink-faced, that you have to get yourself to a place where you're in a coma. What does that mean? What it means is that using the physical blessing that God put into this world called yayin, using it in a way that allows us to be able to stop seeing the veneer and to be able to see what's behind it, to be able to see, to be able to operate in the world, not in the world of what's happening, but in the world of why it's happening. Because in the world of why it's happening, it doesn't matter whether Haman is being cursed or Mordechai is being blessed. What I see up there is I see a Kodesh Baruch Hu running the world. What did Dorothy see when she pulled back the curtain? She saw was some dude who was sitting there and making it all happen. You know what happens when we pull back the curtain of the world? We see that it's not some dude, but it's the Ribono Shel Olam himself that's sitting there making all this happen. And it manifests itself in one way over here, and it manifests itself in a tsunami over there, and in an earthquake over here, and in storms over here, and in this tragedy, and this travesty, and this thing, and this challenge, and this beautiful thing. But in the end, what is it all? What is a tsunami? What is an earthquake? What is when the stock market is rising? What is all of that? It's not a stock market, and it's not a tsunami, and it's not an earthquake. It's the Ribono Shel Olam. It's Ein Od Milvado. It's God. I can't see that most of the time because I'm stuck in this physical world. I'm stuck down here. I'm looking at it from this point of view. On Purim, we have to rise above that. And on Purim, we can rise above that. We can get to the place of Ein Od Milvado, of there's nothing in the world other than God. We have the ability to be able to climb out of ourselves and climb out of the boxes that we live in, to be able to recognize that God is running everything and that we need to stick our hands out to him. Because just like we have that rule, God has that rule. Kol haposhet yad, whoever sticks out their hand on Purim, nosnin lo, God gives him. Not only we have to give to the poor that stick out their hands, when we turn to God and we say to him, God, save us, God listens. Can you imagine if this Purim, the Jewish world, spent a minute in their Purim to turn to God and say, God, it's not about me. It's about your people Israel. It's about Jews worldwide. Ana Hashem Hashiana. God save us. Ana Hashem Atzlichana. God make us successful. Bless us. Isa Shalom Bimraima V'yasa Shalom Aleinu. Bring a little peace into our world. It's not about me, and it's not about my challenges, it's not about my health, it's not about my money. But God, I'm sticking my hand out for the people, for the Jewish people. If for a moment on Purim we could get to this place of recognizing Ein Od Milvado, big things can happen. It's what we told the people 2,000 years ago. Hang on. It's what we have to tell ourselves. Hang on. God's got your back. Oh, you still not sure? 88-year-old rabbi who never forgot, never gave up hope, never for a moment wavered that the Rebbeinu Shalom is running this world. You know what happened at the bris 2 days ago? The rabbi said, at this moment, when we hear the tears of that baby, the heavenly gates are open, as there were hundreds of people that came to this bris, not just the students, hundreds of people. And he davened, they said Tehillim, they said a psalm, a prayer for the soldiers. They sang Achenu, because he recognized Ein Od Milvado. It's all being run by God. This event didn't happen a week before Purim because it happened to happen a week before Purim. This baby could have been born weeks ago. It could have been born years ago. But it was born now at this time to remind us of this message. We say it with our words. We're willing to teach it to the people of Shushan. We have to say it with our words and live it with our lives and feel it in our hearts. Ein Od Milvado. There is nothing other than God. And when we're able to climb out of our boxes, feel this, see this, and live this, that's when we can start to see the Gilui, the Megillah, the revelation, the clarity. And that's when we can see the Geula, when we'll begin to see the redemption of the Jewish people and the coming together of our nation as one, and of our climbing out of the pain and living in a world of joy, peace, happiness, and godliness. And that should happen quickly and speedily in our days. Amen.
Amen.
Just a thought. I'm going to put this up online.
Beautiful.
I'm going to make a crazy suggestion. And I'm going to make a crazy suggestion to anybody's listening to this. Listen to it twice. Go over it before Purim. And have that line, Ein Od Milvado, handy and ready. When you're sitting in shul and listening to the Megillah, when you're wishing a good Purim to people and giving out shalach manas and giving money to the poor, just let that thought flash by you. When you're sitting at a Purim Suda and you're singing and you're dancing, let that thought flash by your eyes. Ein Od Milvado. there is nothing in this world other than God. And take a moment on Purim and say, God, thank you for everything. And I'm praying on behalf of the people of Israel. I'm praying on behalf of the Jewish nation. Send us a salvation, protect us, and open our eyes so that we can see your presence always. Okay, we should have a beautiful Purim, a beautiful Shabbos, and a beautiful Purim. And just to add another thought, people are asking, is it an appropriate year to celebrate Purim? With all that's going on, is it an appropriate year not to celebrate Purim? If Purim is about fun, please do me a favor, don't do that this Purim. You can't have fun while they're suffering out there. But if Purim is about getting to a place of Ein Od Milvado, please do that. Please do that in the best way you possibly can. Because when you think of Purim as just a day of fun and a day of rejoicing on an empty level, then of course people are suffering. It's not appropriate. When you think of Purim as being a vodas Hashem, a service of God, and a place that we need to reach, a spiritual place we need to reach, then it becomes a totally different thing. Okay, just wanted to share that.